In today's video, I'll be showing you the worst deaths in GTA games from angles you were never meant to see by using a Freecam mod. Can we find Deborah and Floyd's body inside the apartment? What actually happens to this guy when he goes inside this meat grinder? If Jay Norris's body exists in the game files, then can we witness this in game somewhere in the map? We'll be trying to find out all of these things and exploring some of the worst deaths in GTA of all time. This is essentially a supercut because I have done a video like this before. I'm having a bit of a burnout on YouTube at the moment, and YouTube kind of requires you to carry on uploading in order for you to actually stay afloat. So I'm sorry if some of you feel like you've already seen a video just like this before, but we've worked on it even better, and this is like the definitive edition supercut of all the most brutal deaths in GTA games. First of all, we're going to start off in the meat factory in GTA 5. Now, during this mission, Michael has been kidnapped by the Chinese gang while he was at the cemetery with Trevor in North Yankton, if you remember correctly. And Trevor basically goes to meet Franklin, and Franklin's like, "Where is Michael? Michael is missing." And Trevor's like, "I don't care, he's been kidnapped." So Franklin decides to ring Lester, who then gives him a tracking app on his mobile phone, and it's now up to Franklin to track Michael down, and it turns out that he's being captured in this warehouse here, which is basically a meat warehouse or a slaughterhouse. But you'll notice that plenty of the enemies have been positioned in fantastic ways for them to be killed by some of the machinery. As you can see, this guy you shoot right here falls straight into this container filled with acid, which is a pretty brutal death to start off with our first one here. But as you go around the corner, you'll see this guy standing on this platform where if you shoot him, he'll fall into a meat grinder. But it's not quite as detailed as you'd expect, like he doesn't actually get grinded up or anything like that, but it's still brutal nonetheless. And there's a few examples of this that happen throughout this mission.
There's more guys coming from down there. Throw me inside. Come on. I get a steak for Trevor's friend.
Next up, we have Molly Schultz from GTA 5 once again. And in this mission, Michael is now working with Solomon Richards. They've already produced their very first movie, but when Michael arrives at the movie studios, he sees Molly and Devin Weston sitting there at the desk, and they claim that they're going to seize his film that is yet to be released, and they're going to hold it. Of course, Michael is extremely unhappy about this, and he pursues Molly down to the Los Santos International Airport, where a pursuit will ensue, where we have to chase down Molly's vehicle, and it's a pretty cool chase scene because there's a lot of police cars that get blown around by the jets and stuff like that. But eventually the chase comes to an end at this hangar where Molly is scheduled to be taking a private jet to fly the film to safety. However, things don't go so well when Molly literally gets sucked up by a jet engine, and it's extremely graphic. As you can see on the floor, there's piles of body parts and there's a hand on the floor, and let me just show you this from a completely different angle. Next up, we have Floyd and Deborah. Did Trevor kill Floyd and Deborah, and can we find their bodies in the building? So, of course, Wade, who is basically Trevor's assistant, introduces Trevor to Floyd, who has an apartment in the Vespucci Beach area of Los Santos. And it turns out that Floyd has a pretty horrible girlfriend called Deborah. Or maybe she's his wife, I'm not so sure. But anyway, long story short, Deborah isn't so happy about Trevor staying at their apartment. And one day, all things come to a boiling point when Deborah completely freaks out on Trevor.
Not a man at all. Bob's right about you.
Oh, who's Bob?
I want both of you to go now. You and your weird friend.
Whoa! Hey! My name is Trevor, sweetheart.
I could give a fuck what your fucking name is. I'm not afraid to use this. I'm not. Bob taught me.
Fuck Bob! You people are not very fucking nice.
So, what
Do you recognize that man? Shit! I believe you parted with him in a time until.
It's then we discover that this is a hit job and we start getting shot at by various snipers and we have to then try and escape the rooftop. Okay, so we all know about Johnny Klebit's death in GTA 5, but have you ever seen it from the angle that I'm about to show you? We all know that Johnny Klebits is the leader of the Lost and Damned, and in GTA 4 he's an extremely powerful character and he's a pretty likable guy, but in GTA 5 Rockstar Games really did this guy dirty. It all turns out that basically Trevor is sleeping with this guy's girlfriend. And he comes up to Trevor's trailer to basically confront Trevor, which is definitely not anything you want to do on a good day, let alone on the same day that Trevor's just found out that Michael DeSanta, as he's known now, aka Michael Townley, is still alive, his friend who he thought was dead. So Trevor's in an extremely bad mood here, and things come to a boiling point where Trevor decides, you know what, I'm just going to end this guy. And that's exactly what happens. And if we see it from this angle I'm about to show you, it becomes so much more brutal.
Fucking shit! Who the fuck are you speaking to? Who? I'm talking to you, huh? You fuck! Johnny! Huh? Next time, don't get in my fucking face! I just saw a fucking ghost and I gotta hear your crap! Get up! Get up! Fuck you then!
Wait.
Next up we have Trevor's death. Now, Trevor's death is a pretty wild one and it's pretty brutal in many regards. Fun fact, if you refuse to shoot Trevor in this moment, Michael will actually do it himself. This is a pretty wild death because it's kind of brutal, but it kind of matches Trevor in who he is. He's an explosive, fiery character who many would argue is very evil. And so this death is kind of like the death for the devil, almost, where could you think of any more of a suitable death for Trevor? I certainly can't, and I think that this death, especially when you watch it in slow motion from some of these angles here, is really kind of brutal. Especially when this explosion goes off here as well, just adding the cherry to the cake. So what about Michael's death then? Well, since we've just done Trevor's death, we might as well do Michael's death. So if you pick the other option, which is to kill Michael, a very similar ending will ensue, where we have to then pursue Michael along the train tracks, which eventually comes to an end at the power plant, which is kind of within the same vicinity of the map as the place where Trevor ends up dying as well. We end up chasing Michael on foot to the top of this power plant, where he eventually reaches this chimney and decides to climb the ladder to the top, basically cornering himself off, which is a pretty stupid decision in my opinion. So of course Franklin follows him up the ladder, and that is where this final confrontation takes place. Michael sneaks up on Franklin and almost takes him out, but Franklin definitely gets the upper hand here by pushing Michael over the railing, but then has a final change of heart at the very end. But it's way too late, because no matter what you try and do, whether you decide to drop Michael or whether you try to save him, the ending is always the same, leading to Michael falling to his death. Now what's really interesting about this is if you use Freecam, you can see that Michael's body falls but then is repositioned for the cutscene. And I'd say that Michael's death is very tame in comparison to Trevor's by far. So let's talk about Agent Sanchez now, and this is like one of the most brutal deaths in the entire game of GTA 5 in my opinion. So Dave Norton asks Michael to meet him up at the Quartz Arts Center for a private meeting, and upon arrival, everything seems fine, and Michael meets with Dave, and they're about to engage in a conversation when all of a sudden the other FIB undercover corrupt agents all arrive. We're talking Steve Haynes and Agent Sanchez. An argument ensues, and then all of a sudden backup arrives that wasn't supposed to be there, and it turns out that these guys are working with Agent Sanchez, who seems to have backstabbed them all, and then the SWAT arrive and things just go completely off the rails from there. That's when Agent Steve Haynes is shot in the leg by a SWAT member, but as he's falling to his knees, he decides to fire his weapon at Agent Sanchez, literally blowing his brains out.
Fucking Merryweather! What are they doing here?
Steve, put your gun down.
No, same goddamn leg! God! Fuck! Bullshit!
Mike, this your frequency.
Let's go back to GTA 4 now for a little breather and a little break, and we're going to start off with A Long Way to Fall in GTA 4. Another mission given to you by Ray Boschino, where he instructs you to head to an apartment complex in order to track down a target. Upon arrival, you have to fight through a variety of waves of enemies before you reach the top floor or the apartment floor that you're looking for in order to find this guy. But upon arrival, it turns out that this guy is hiding in the bathroom, and when Nico tries to sneak up on him, he is knocked out by the door for a brief moment, and this guy who we're trying to take out makes his escape to the rooftop. So upon pursuing this guy, we make our way to the rooftop, and that's where one of the awesome moments of GTA 4 takes place, one of these cool features the game has, where it gives you the opportunity to perform an execution or let someone live.
The city don't belong to them no more.
So there seems to be a lot of deaths that require falling in GTA 4, and that's pretty much the same when it comes to this next mission, dropping in Falling Out, which is a mission in GTA The Ballad of Gay Tony. Now during this mission, Luis Lopez is instructed to fly a helicopter to a high altitude, where he then prepares to parachute into a skyscraper from the roof, and then access this skyscraper in order to take out a target. So upon arrival, we then have to fight our way through a variety of floors in order to work our way down to the target. And once we fight our way through the waves of enemies and make our way to where this guy is hiding, when we shoot him, well, let's just say this guy's death isn't something I would want for myself.
Girl, I thought she was of age. She looked old for her age, okay?
And our next one also takes place in the Ballad of Gay Tony, and it's a mission for Yusuf Amir. During this mission, we're instructed to head to the Rotterdam Tower, or some of you might know it better as the Empire State Building. Upon arrival, we take a lift to the very top, where we are instructed to then meet with two contacts who are expecting Yusuf Amir to be within our presence and our company. However, they are very disappointed when it turns out that only Luis Lopez is there.
Ahmed. Louis, my man. Where's Yusuf? What's going on, bro? What do you mean, what's going on? Chill, homeboy. Look at the real estate. Enjoy.
Yusuf. You said he'd be here.
Yo, what's wrong with you, man? Yo, what's going on?
He fucking knows we're in the shit.
What do I know?
I told him to chill, man. Shit.
Tell me what I just walked into.
Shit.
Tell me.
Please, what have you done? I'm sorry. Don't. Shit.
Fuck you.
No!
Man, this town is full of degenerates.
Once these guys start acting suspiciously, of course, Luis starts suspecting something. And that's when he decides to throw this guy over the top, and he lands directly on top of the taxi. But once that is finished, that isn't everything. Then the building is stormed by Noose agents trying to close in. The last target begins to flee towards the top of the tower, climbing a ladder. So we are then instructed to pursue this guy all the way to the top of the tower as well.
Look, here! I have a parachute! Take it! We were hoping to get Yusuf and Wiretap! They don't know shit about you, believe me! Snitching motherfucker! I didn't do nothing to you.
We're going to go quickly to Liberty City Stories now, and we're going to return to GTA 5 briefly in a moment for Jay Norris and some more GTA 4, as well as a variety of others. But anyway, in this mission Dead Meat, it all revolves around a guy named Giovanni Casa, who stopped paying his protection money, long story short, and Tony's mum is basically ridiculing him, and she says that she wishes that Tony had the guts of this Casa guy to stand up against the family.
You wish I had Casa's guts? Okay, Ma, you asked for them.
So he decides to meet with Casa at his butchery and take him to a discreet location for a quote-unquote private talk. Upon arrival, that's when something totally horrifying takes place, where we're instructed to chase this guy down with an axe and brutally murder him and butcher him right there on the spot.
We can talk about this, right, Tony? Yeah, talking is good. People just don't talk enough these days, Tony.
Stand there and shut your yap, Casa.
Yeah, okay, Tony, but I don't feel comfortable. Hey, easy with that, Tony. It's the on switch for the...
Once we're done with that, that isn't the end of it, guys, because we then process this guy into meat and sausages and deliver his own body in his own van back to his butchery, where one of his assistants and shop workers there at the time accepts the delivery of meat to then be sold to customers.
special sausage meat delivery. No one told me about this. Whoa! Which zoo did we knock off this time? There's loads of meat back here. Mmm, tasty.
So essentially we killed this guy, processed him into meat, and sold him at his own butchery. Okay, so let's talk about Jay Norris, because this is a big one, and many people probably didn't realize you can actually find this player model in GTA 5 using mods, where you can see that the Jay Norris variant with his face blown up from the explosive device is in the game. So that would lead you to think, well, hang on a minute, if that isn't a video file that we're watching, or does that mean that this is actually taking place in the game somewhere? Well, we're going to try and figure that out, because as you can see on this television from Jay Norris's, the moment before he dies, we can see that this is a Life Invader event, which seems to be taking place at the Los Santos Arena, which is kind of in the hills, which is sort of like the Opera House, basically, is where we're going to try and investigate, because that's where this is taking place. So in this mission, Lester informs Michael that he needs to go and plant this explosive device at the Life Invader offices inside this prototype phone. And once we've done that, we then need to head back to Michael's house, where we then watch this keynote taking place, this presentation, where we all know what happens next. Jay Norris ends up getting his face blown off.
I think someone's trying to dock with me. Hello?
Get security! And first aid! No plumbing!
So during this cutscene, I tried to use a Freecam to fly to where this arena is, where Jay Norris is basically where this is actually taking place. But unfortunately, of course, no surprise, there's nothing there to find. So it's a shame. But anyway, this is probably one of the most brutal deaths in the entire GTA franchise, in my opinion. So next up we have Flatline in GTA 4. And this is where Jimmy Pecorino is going completely crazy. He's completely paranoid because his ex-bodyguard, well, not his ex-bodyguard, his current bodyguard, who has been for several years now, has been found out to have been wearing a wire. Jimmy Pecorino basically says to Nico, it's not only me that this guy has dirt on and has information that's been provided to the police, the cops, it's also stuff about Nico. So of course Nico agrees to head to the hospital where this guy is being held, because it turns out that he's suffered a heart attack and has survived, and is in critical condition at the hospital. So upon arrival, Nico then gets on some hospital scrubs, some doctor's scrubs, and sneaks past the guards. And this place is heavily fortified by police as well. And what happens next is the ability where we can press the button on the life support machine to turn it off, resulting in this guy basically dying of a heart attack, which is pretty horrific, but I'm going to let you watch it.
I'm sorry. Shit, Nico. You here to see the boss? Yeah, he's just this way. Wait, isn't the boss in jail? What are you here for? Shit. I didn't have a choice. They were gonna put me away for some hard time. I never thought it'd be me that turned rat.
Oh, it looks like I messed something up. Sorry about that, Anthony.
Tell Bag. I'm sorry.
So next up we have probably the darkest mission in GTA history. Pretty dark. And that's called Hot Dog Homicide. And it's from GTA 2. Now, before you turn off because it looks awful, we are going to talk about GTA 5 once more and GTA 4 a little bit later in this video. But this mission, briefly, is essentially in GTA 2, you're instructed by the Russian mafia to get a bus and pick up a bunch of civilians. Once you have those civilians on board this bus, we're then instructed to take them to a meat factory. And these guys are then, these pedestrians, these innocent civilians, are processed into meat and hot dogs, which are then delivered in a hot dog van for people to eat, which is absolutely crazy. So technically you don't really see anything brutal here, or nothing too disturbing, or like you don't actually see anything. but it is pretty horrifying nonetheless. Next up, we have the execution of Dimitri and the execution of Darko in GTA 4. Two birds with one stone here. Now, again, like I discussed earlier, GTA 4 had this really cool mechanic where some points in the story, it would give you the opportunity where you could decide whether you wanted to execute someone or let them live. And these options each had their own unique abilities or things that it would reward you or give you in the storyline and would actually shape how the game played out. Now, of course, the first one is Dimitri, where Nico gets his revenge in a mission called A Dish Served Cold.
I should have put you out of your misery a long time ago. Goodbye, Dimitri.
And the same goes here for Darko. Now, have you noticed, one little thing I want to mention is that Darko gets shot a specific amount of times. Take a look at how many times and how many bullets Nico puts into Darko here and count them. And once you're done counting, I have something to tell you after you've watched it and counted how many bullets there are that go into him.
What is this place?
Thank you.
You piece of shit! That was for everyone! That was for me!
Okay, Nico, it's...
Yes, that's right, there was a lot of bullets that went into Darko there, and you might be wondering, well, how did he take so many bullets and still remain alive that whole time? Well, it's actually kind of like, you would call it foreshadowing, but it's kind of like symbolic, because for each bullet was each member of Nico's crew in the army and the military whose life was lost as a result of Darko. And that's why it takes so many bullets in order to finish him, because it's kind of like an artistic statement, if you will. Next up, we have the base jump gone wrong, which is Dom in GTA 5. Dom was this crazy lunatic adrenaline junkie in GTA 5 that you could meet, who would do a variety of base jumps with Franklin. But there's also something really interesting about this mission and kind of odd, which is that Franklin ends up talking to a dog, which has led to many speculations and theories that maybe this mission doesn't take place at all and maybe it's all inside Franklin's head. But I'll leave the interpretation up to you. It then leads him to Dom, who is clinging onto the edge of a dam, who's about to do a base jump into extremely shallow waters.
What the hell you about to do, man?
Nothing. It's perfectly safe.
Like last time, huh?
Yeah. If I don't hit your vagina on the way down.
Hey, man, I ain't too sure about this one. Man, that motherfucking dog was the real deal.
What dog?
I don't know how to explain it, man.
Well, it's your call.
And our next one is from GTA Chinatown Wars. An extremely underrated game, but it sold terribly, and it's a game that many people didn't play. It was on the PSP and the Nintendo DS, and it has one specific brutal death in it that I want to show you. And that is that a character in the game named Zhao asks us to meet with him, because he wants you to capture a guy from an ambulance called Yuri. So we head to the international airport to pick up the ambulance, or steal the ambulance, which has this Yuri guy in the back. And once we deliver this Yuri character to a lockup where Zhao is waiting, well, it turns out that the reason we were sent to collect this guy wasn't because he's important or a friend of Zhao's. It's because he wants to kill him in a very specific way. by taking out his heart with his bare hands while he's still alive. So there you have it, guys. A supercut of all the worst deaths and brutal deaths in GTA games. The master cut, if you will. I thought it would be a good idea to revisit some of these and go through them again with better graphics, a bit more detail for each one, and basically just put them all together in one video. So yeah, I've enjoyed making this video. I hope you guys have also enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.